Imagine holding in your hand a small copper coin minted in 1953, a wheat penny, whose face value was just 1 cent, but whose story stretches across generations of American history, economic change, artistry in coin design, and the subtle mysteries of numismatics. This is not just a penny. It is a window into the post-war era, a time when America was finding its footing after World War II, when prosperity was rising, but also when global tensions of the Cold War were beginning to shape the world. The wheat penny of 1953 tells us about how coins were made, the metal they were struck from the mints that produced them, the artistry of Victor David Brenner, who first designed the Lincoln cent in 1909, and the enduring symbolism of wheat, ears that represented American agriculture strength and growth. In those years, every coin in circulation carried a message far greater than its face value. The story of the 1953 wheat penny begins with its design. On the obverse, we find Abraham Lincoln, the beloved 16th president immortalized on the cent since 1909. The Lincoln cent was the first U.S. coin to bear the portrait of an actual person, breaking away from the classical allegories of liberty that had dominated coinage for over a century. Brenner's design placed Lincoln facing right with the word liberty to his left and the date to his right above him, the motto, "In God We Trust," which had been appearing on coins since the Civil War era. What makes this coin iconic is the reverse, with its two simple wheat stalks, one on each side, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, along with the motto, E pluribus unum. This wheat design would last until 1958 before being replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial reverse. But beyond the design lies the real depth of history. The 1953 wheat penny was minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint left its own small mark of history. Philadelphia coins carried no mint mark. Denver pennies bore a D, and San Francisco pennies and S. Collectors today seek out these varieties not only for their differences, but for their relative rarity. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 256 million coins. Denver struck more than 700 million, while San Francisco produced a more modest 181 million. In total, over 1 billion wheat pennies were struck in 1953, which speaks to the incredible demand for small change in post-war America. The metal content of these coins is another layer of their story, struck in 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. These coins carry within them the last full era of copper cents, before the dramatic changes of the 1970s and 1980s, when rising metal costs would lead to pennies being made primarily of zinc. The feel, weight, and tone of a 1953 cent speaks to an earlier age, when coins carried substance, when every clink in the pocket resonated with real metal. The historical backdrop of 1953 adds even greater meaning. Dwight D. Eisenhower was president. The Korean War had just ended, the Cold War was heating up, and the American economy was booming. Suburban expansion, consumer spending, and industrial growth were reshaping the nation. Coins were everywhere: vending machines, buses, corner stores, pay telephones. All required pennies, nickels, and dimes. In those years, the penny still mattered. It could buy a stick of gum, a piece of candy, or contribute to a gallon of gasoline, costing just 29 cents. When we study a 1953 wheat penny, we are not only studying metal, but also the daily life of millions of Americans. For collectors, the value of the 1953 wheat penny varies dramatically depending on its condition. While most circulated examples are worth only a few cents to perhaps $1, pristine examples, uncirculated with full red luster, can fetch far more, especially those certified by grading services like PCGS or NGC. And then there are errors and varieties which make certain 1953 cents worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, doubled dies, repunched mint marks off center strikes, or coins struck on the wrong planchets. All are treasures waiting to be discovered in Rolls jars or family coin boxes. The artistry of the wheat penny design also invites deep reflection. The choice of wheat, Ears as the central motif was not accidental in 1909. When Brenner created the design, the United States was still a largely agricultural nation. Wheat represented prosperity, nourishment, and growth. It was a symbol the average citizen could connect with. By 1953, though the country was shifting toward industrialization and urban living, yet the coin still carried that agricultural legacy, as if to remind Americans of their roots. As we dig deeper, we can look at the transition that followed just a few years later in 1959, when the wheat reverse gave way to the Lincoln Memorial. This marked the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and signaled a new direction in coin design. The 1953 wheat penny thus sits near the end of an era representing the last chapter of the beloved wheat design. Collectors cherish these coins not only for their copper glow, but for their place as one of the final wheat issues. Even more fascinating is how these coins circulated. They traveled in the pockets of soldiers returning from Korea, factory workers, suburban families, children saving coins in piggy banks. They were exchanged in diners, jukeboxes, laundromats, and corner stores. Every scratch and mark on a circulated 1953 penny tells a story of everyday American life. To truly appreciate the 1953 wheat penny, we must also consider the broader numismatic tradition. The Lincoln cent has been in continuous production for over a century, making it the longest-running coin design in U.S. history. When you hold a 1953 cent, you are touching part of that legacy, part of a series that has endured longer than any other in American coinage history. This little coin connects us to art, politics, economics, and the ordinary lives of people decades ago. It teaches us how to see coins not just as money, but as historical documents, tiny works of art and enduring artifacts of culture for the collector, for the historian, for the curious soul. The 1953 wheat penny is a treasure not for its rarity alone, but for the story it carries from the heart of mid-century America.